Welcome to the Nurse Power Podcast.
I'm Misha Mia.
And I'm Dr. Nicole Thomas. And we're Biz Besties, who created the Nurse Power Network to change the narrative of nurses and help them show up in their ugly truths and make power moves.
All while balancing life, love, and family. I'm Misha Mia.
And I am Dr. Nicole Thomas. And we are back for yet another episode of the Nurse Power Podcast. Yes! I absolutely love.
I'm ready to get into this episode.
Listen, I am ready because Misha and I talk stuff
all the time.
Crap in real life via our voice text. We always voice texting. And she was like, no, girl, we got to take this to the couch. We got to take this. This is a conversation
Shout
for the
out
couch.
to the voice texters. Yes.
What we talking about today, Misha? You tell them. Listen, I got some stuff to say.
Child, they fired me. We gonna talk about that. They fired me. All right. Where's all my nurse girls that's been fired?
Stand up.
You know,
please.
don't all stand up at once. Raise your hand. Put your head down. Whatever you got to do. But, you know, we all know getting terminated ain't a good thing.
No.
It's never a good thing when you get fired. And little old me, I'm trying to think. Have I been fired? So here's the thing. I guess technically it wasn't a fire.
Help me understand what is fired, but just fire. Help me understand. Because the only thing I know is that you got fired and people told you don't come back.
So yeah, if they tell you don't come back, in the real world, you was fired. But if you're a travel nurse and they tell you don't come back,
you fired.
You just canceled. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I don't know. Y'all gotta come through with the response on this. As a traveler, if you get fired, did you really get fired? No.
Yes. They told you do not step foot into their establishment again.
Yes, they did.
You got served.
Oh my God, y'all. It's so hard to believe this, but I guess.
Okay, tell me the story, and I'm going to tell you whether you got fired or not. What happened?
So what happened was, it was a really exhausting day. I actually had just flew from East to West Coast. And this was a canceled contract in California, by the way, which really is bogus because they need us so bad over there. Yeah. So I can't even believe that. I was like, how dare you? I'm helping you. Like, you're going to tell me don't come back? I'm doing you a favor. And they were like, honey, you are nothing but a number. We can replace you just as fast as we got you. Toodles.
Bye-bye.
There goes your job. So anyway, they canceled me because I guess I was a little exhausted that night and I wasn't keeping up with the surgical counts. If you're a labor and delivery nurse or even an operating room nurse, you know how important the counts are in the operating room. Mm-hmm. And honestly, every facility does things differently. This particular facility did a operational count where they actually have barcodes on the sponge, lap sponge, which go in the body. You know, you want to make sure you don't leave nothing foreign in the body.
Yeah. That
is a very serious matter. And I do get how serious it was. And I was just so tired from just traveling back and forth that day that I couldn't use the equipment, y'all. And if you're a traveler, the one thing that's stressful about traveling is you have to be able to learn how to use so much different software, equipments, policies, everything. I mean, seriously. So rightfully so, I couldn't keep up with their way.
Yeah, right.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm. It's their way. And my count was correct in defense, which is why it really kind of ticked me off that they would cancel my contract because my count was correct in the operating room. Every count was correct. But because I couldn't prove it with their scanning system, it wasn't correct to them because they had a certain way that they did it.
You could not verify and clarify, which is my favorite famous term. Right, verify and clarify.
Okay, Dr. Thomas. I'm in trouble right now.
So help me understand. You didn't have the count. You had it.
I had it correct, but not.
But you didn't have it documented
correctly.
Yes. So if that goes to the court of law,
it's not legit.
It's not legit.
Yeah, she's right, y'all. She's absolutely right.
So let me ask you this, because this is a really good topic, and why we wanted to talk about this is because we've seen a lot of things, happening within the healthcare field with nurses losing their jobs Me personally, if I could be very, very honest, and I've had people slide in my DMs and ask me this before, like, hey, why are you not speaking about such and such case? Well, I do that intentionally. Mm-hmm. I don't speak on it publicly because the reality of it is I don't know the true facts. Okay?
Right.
I don't know the true facts about what really happened in that situation to contribute to whatever the result of a nurse, unfortunately losing their job and sometimes having to go further with the board and all those different things. So I don't like to speak on things that I don't have real hardcore evidence and facts behind.
That makes sense.
However, I think it's important for us to talk about this because I do see a lot of things that are happening in the healthcare space, especially within nursing.
Yes.
That are very, very, very fireable offenses.
Yes.
And unfortunately, yet fortunately, I have had to terminate staff before, right? It's never an easy thing, but it's a needed and necessary thing.
How do you deal with that?
It's really and truly, number one, I'm never the type to say, oh, I'm just going to fire you. Mm-hmm. Right? That's never the case because I don't think that that's ever warranted. Whenever there's a situation that could warrant someone not performing to the level of expectations that we have set forth for them, I always ask myself, did we do our due diligence to make sure we provided them with the information, the documentation, the resources, and everything that they need, the development that they need to be able to perform to the standard, the minimum standard, right? Because you have a minimum standard, then you have an above standard, then you have an exceptional standard. But did we provide them what they need to perform at the minimum basic level of the standards within this organization? And so I always start there. Because I really try to make sure this has to be fair. It cannot just be, oh, you ain't do this right, so toodles, right? Yeah. So I always start there, backtrack. Did we do this? If we did, maybe they just need reinforcement, verification, clarification, whatever. If we didn't do it, I am one that, and people that have worked for me will tell you, I'm going to own it and say, we ain't do a good job at this. We contributed to their failure. Right. We did this, right? And what do we now do to fix this? So I always start there. More development is going to come, more training is going to come. That hard conversation that's one-to-one is going to have to happen. But in that, we're going to talk about and develop a plan to help you to get to a place where you can perform at the minimal expectation on a timeline. Because the reality of it is, in business, I don't have a year for you to get to the minimum expectation. I don't. It's business. It is business. The bills have to get paid some type of way. Okay. So I'm going to put you on a timetable in which we're going to develop and work collectively with me as your partner to help get you where you need to be. We're going to evaluate along those lines. If you improving, cool. Get to the minimum expectation, you're fine. But I have had situations where I have literally pulled in every single resource. Myself, I've pulled in the training department, I've pulled in the expert, within the department, I've pulled in this person, that person, and they just still couldn't get it.
Because some of these people, I'll be working with some nurses and I'm like, ain't no way you're a real nurse. I mean that from a good place. Yeah. Some of these nurses is like, you really be like, did we really sit for the same boards?
Yeah. But you know what and I get that. Yeah, I get that. But you know what I've learned though in my role of leadership, because I've worked in some pretty high leadership levels, right? I've worked as a nurse exec for a Fortune 7, where I was the only Black female that has ever worked at that level. So I've worked at pretty high executive levels,
you see how it can be.
And so I see it from so many different perspectives working at that level. And so to piggyback off of what you just said, like, did we sit for the same boards? I definitely can see where you're coming from. But a different perspective I want to offer is what I found is that sometimes this particular line of business it's just not for you as a nurse.
Yes, that's true.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It just doesn't fit with your strong suit as a nurse. And so maybe you need to go and try something else because this particular lane, there are 1,000 other out there, but this particular lane is probably not the place where you're going to be able to survive, let alone thrive, to be able to grow and scale with the business as we grow and scale.
I agree with that.
And so that's what I found, you know, when you look at it sometimes, like, didn't I just tell you that?
Yeah.
Like, I just showed you, I wrote it down, took a picture, highlighted it, circled it in red, purple, pink.
The caveat
gave you a video of it and you still can't, but
they don't got all them patience for a traveler. So that's why they just get rid of you. It's like toodles. So like, you know, how you really broke it down and which you would really take someone through the proper chain and they don't have all of that time. So it's like, you don't got it.
Yeah.
You got to go. And so they scooted my little tushy right out the door.
Yeah.
And said, we'll find someone else who knows how to work our equipment because we don't have time to train you.
So let me ask you this. I'm sure that was very, very, very early on in your career.
Yes, it was.
Very early on.
I won't tell my age, but that was probably about 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you have went through your journey of life. Right? Just a journey of life, not just as being a nurse, but you went through your journey of life, which means that you have built multiple successful brands. You get the business aspect of things. I'm sure when that first happened, you were in your feelings, you were emotional, but now that you've went through your journey and you understand a little bit more about business, do you feel and do you understand why it had to happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, though, that OR, they don't play about the operating room, no way. So even though counts was correct, because they used this really funny equipment to document it and I couldn't maneuver it, it wasn't correct to them. No matter how many times I told them we did a manual count, which is traditionally done in everyone else's OR, but not theirs, it did not matter. So yeah, it definitely taught me a lot. And it also taught me as a travel nurse, don't get out here early in the game as a nurse, period. When it comes down to the real contract world, that let me see how they see you from a business perspective. You're really they're not there to train you. They're not there to coach you or remediate and all of that thing. You really need to know your stuff. And when you don't, you're jeopardizing so many things for not only you, but the quality of care you can give your patients. So you can't fake it. It's some things you just can't fake. And I know there's 7,000 fake nurses running around right now from Florida, but there's some things you can't fake.
That's what they say.
Right. But I'm telling you, you can't fake some things. And as a traveler, I learned that early in the game with that experience. Like, oh my God, you really got to know these systems. And there's tons of healthcare systems and equipments. There's even different little things, IVs. You go to start an IV at one hospital and go to the next one.
Completely different. It's completely different.
I mean, you talk about put you in a chokehold.
It's completely different.
And I get it from a business perspective. They don't have time. You have to know what you're doing. And so it holds you accountable. And now looking back as a business owner and a nurse, I'm glad I experienced that when I did. I got my little PTSD now from that. You know, if you put me in the operating room right now, I'm gonna shake a little bit. I ain't lying. You know, some things you go through in life, you still get a little queasy about it. So I'll never forget that moment. But at the same time, it definitely made me focus more on giving the best patient outcome. And that's really what it's about.
That's what it's about. So let me ask you this, because this has been a common theme or discussion that I've seen throughout social media and on these social media streets and I know I don't comment on these things publicly. Because I have a completely different perspective on them. But there has been a lot of talk of nurses being disposable. Nurses are disposable. The hospital CEO makes millions while the nurse makes X, Y, and Z. And before y'all come for me, because I know y'all are, listen to this in its totality and everything I have to say. I am not saying that nurses do not deserve more money. Hell yeah, we deserve more, right? So that's not what I'm saying before y'all come for me. What I'm saying is, the narrative that's being painted from my perspective, that nurses are disposable, I can say from sitting in executive leadership roles as a nurse that is not the case.
Right.
I promise y'all, it is so much bigger than that, right? Because the reality of it is,
why they act like they don't care?
So tell me,
I asked for my extension and I don't get it, y'all.
So help me understand when you say they act like they don't care. Give me an example.
Prime example, right? Have a unit of 10 beds. Let's say it's 10 beds. They're all full. You got 5 nurses on the board and a charge nurse.
Okay.
2 of them are new grads. Wait, I just said 5 nurses. No, you got a charge nurse and 5 nurses on the board. 3 of them are new grads, just got out of school, 1 year at the max experience. The other 2 are travelers who just got there. They know their job, but they don't know where nothing is. They don't know who nobody is. And then you got nurses literally waiting to get in. You got nurses waiting for opportunities. You got travel nurses asking for contract extensions. You ain't answering them. Like, you act like you don't need no help. Like, what's the problem? Why we not getting granted the money to be in these positions, right? To keep sustaining the unit. And we're also not being granted the extensions to keep sustaining the unit as travel nurses. So if you don't have no experienced nurses coming in, you also not giving travel nurses the opportunity to stay, then what's the problem? We are disposable because you don't even care. You just dragging these little new grads out in the mud.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say is that they don't care.
Okay.
Right? What I would say is that there is an opportunity for them to really and truly understand, and they really need to go back to the drawing board on how do they build a sustainable framework for the new age of delivery of healthcare.
Yeah.
That is the challenge.
I can agree with that.
That is the challenge.
It is.
Right? Because the patients that we took care of 10 years ago, Misha, are not the same patients that we're taking care of now. Right? That's one element of it.
These pregnant women are so sick. They're on like heparin drips and insulin drips, and some of them are in the ICU, and we actually go there to take it. They sick. You're right.
Yes.
It's a different model.
It's a different world. And so back to your point of we got all these patients on the unit, 5 nurses, 2 of which are 3 of which who are new, 2 that are travelers that don't know what stuff is, and you got people trying to come through the door. Well, the other part of that I think that we need to look at sometime is really and truly what is in the budget. For some reason, let's talk about this.
This is the part that gets me. I guess this is where I'm lost. The budget.
There is a narrative that hospitals have these ginormous billion-dollar budgets. They don't. And so I think that people think they do because all they see is the money coming in.
Yeah.
You got money coming in from here, money coming in from there. The patient bill was $500,000. This was that. Do you know how much just an energy bill is for a hospital?
Yeah.
An energy bill alone.
That's true.
You know business, Misha.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
all of those other small
stuff.
things that add up.
Yeah, you're right.
That you're bringing in, let's just say, $100,000, which we know is way more than that.
Right.
But you putting out 80. That other people don't see and understand where the money is going.
But why isn't the nursing staff a priority in the budget?
So I do think that there is room to be able to make the nursing staff a priority in the budget. But I think even more than that, within healthcare, we have to figure out how we're going to make improved technology a bigger budgeted item. Because what's happening is patients are getting sicker, they're getting sicker younger, they're getting sicker more, and so therefore the demand is really and truly higher. Yes, we do have a nursing shortage in real life. It's not made up. Yes, we do have that demand, and so the demand is higher than what the supply is right now, right? And so it's how do we take and fill this gap? Because I can go out here and keep hiring as nurses continue to evolve within their career and they go on their ordained path, which you should. it's going to be a continual cycle.
That's true.
So how do we now start to really and truly take best practices from other countries and incorporate more technology to help us to be able to reach more people? It's all about how can I do more with less? How can
impact that I was talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
How can I do more with less? And that's
Very
just
true.
and when I say less, I don't mean less in a sense of I'm trying to penny pinch. I don't want to spend, if I got $1, I only want to spend 20 cents because I want to put 80 cents in my pocket. I don't mean in that way. When I say do more with less, I mean because my numbers are going up with the people that I have to service. They're sicker. So they're not staying here 1 or 2 days. They're here for a whole week and all of these different things. How can I now take and do more, but I still have less because my supply of nurses is not increasing, because as soon as it starts to increase, now they're going to evolve into their paths, as you should, again, as a nurse. Don't feel bad about that, y'all. Please don't.
And that's that turnover.
That's that turnover, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to negate, and I'm not saying at all that there are not some areas of opportunity where nurses are not treated right? That's not what I'm saying, because it definitely does happen. But I think that the narrative that I at least hear a lot is that it's solely the hospitals who just don't want to pay because the executives want to take all of the money
bonuses
and the bonuses, right? And nobody else gets none. That is not always
but this
reality.
Girl does get hers. I'm gonna get my coin.
That is not always the reality. And I really, really wish that nurses sometimes could see the other side of the coin.
I do too.
For decisions that executives have to make. I've been in those situations where one decision that I make would impact thousands of people. And I was the final signature that was required to make this happen. You get what I'm saying? And so the weight of that is, if I do this, this is going to happen, which is not so good, but over here it could elevate it more, but this person go get pissed.
Trying to advocate for your nursing community.
These 10 go get pissed, but I got 300 over here who will be, that pressure is challenging.
It is. And I think that's the hard part of, like you said, as watching nursing leadership, we don't see what's going on behind that wall. So we just think that you're supposed to be there to understand us and advocate for us, while there's still a whole nother side of it that we don't get to connect with. And maybe that is something that needs to be more transparent.
I think so. I agree with that.
We don't see that side, and it's often misconstrued.
And I can agree with that. I can definitely say for me, as a leader, I'm as transparent as possible with things that I can share, because certain things you just cannot share.
Absolutely.
And so whenever I do go to my team with something that has to happen, I never say, we're going to do this. I always give them the why. Let's start with the why as to why we have to make this particular change, or why things have to happen this way, to try to help them to understand a little bit more. So I agree with you on that. The other thing that I think really and truly sets me apart as a leader, which I do wish that more leaders within administration and healthcare would do, is that I've worked at every level. You get what I'm saying? So when I became the nurse executive, people just say, oh, she was a nurse exec. But I started at that company as a case manager. And then I went to a team lead. Then I went to a manager. Then I went to the director so I literally knew every level of it. So in these higher level meetings, I had a deeper understanding to say, well, yeah, that has some truth to it. But let me tell you, while this process may sound all perfect, let me tell you some of the real challenges that they're facing as frontline workers doing this.
Because you was coming from both sides.
Because I was able to come from both sides. So I do think that there should be some sense of working your way up. We know that doesn't always happen. It can't always happen. But I do also wish that some grace could be given.
Absolutely.
Grace.
They need to give more grace. When you look at how many of the manslaughter and all of those other cases that are going on for nurses, like, I'm not saying that, people don't make mistakes, because like I just mentioned, I even have made a mistake in my career journey, but nobody's holding these providers accountable. I mean, they've got nurses, y'all, all over the headlines every week. Every week about some type of case. And I mean, where are the providers in this case?
Yeah.
Where are the providers in these cases? Are nurses just going down by themselves or what?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that really bothers me too, when it comes down to being fired or, reprimanded or whatever, terms you want to use. But where are the providers?
Yeah.
Where's the grace for the nurses who are still taking orders from providers?
Yeah, I agree with that too. And with that, we cannot negate the fact of, let's just say it, sometimes when we get fired, we have to have a true conversation with ourselves and say, what part of me played a role in this?
Absolutely.
And take some accountability. Because let's be honest, some of the things that are happening, some of the things that we're seeing, some of the public firings that we are seeing,
right?
The backstory behind some of those, it blows my mind.
Oh my God, the social media stuff. Oh my God.
To think that a nurse would think that some of those things are okay. Man. And so, if I had to wrap this up, because this could be a long conversation.
Yes.
A very layered conversation.
Yes.
I would say, know your organizational policies. When in doubt, ask for clarification. When assistance is needed in the development, ask for that development. Document it in an email that you've asked for this development.
Right.
Do not let social media,
I was going to say it. Thank you.
Guide your practices as a nurse.
Thank you.
I know the reels are cute. I know the videos are cute. I know the song is nice. I feel as if those elements have no place in healthcare
at all.
And I'm not saying social media. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying, because I do think that we can use social media for positive. But what I'm saying, when I see videos on social media that has patients in it and just egregious things and
unbelievable,
that's the part that I think we have to take a deeper look at and understand that we have a sense of accountability in this.
I might get fired, but it'll never be for social media.
She's not getting fired no more, y'all.
Yeah, I'm not getting fired no more, by the way. But I'm just saying, of all things, she's right. Social media, you got to draw the line to what's being put out there.
Yeah, you have to draw that line.
And be accountable. Yeah. Be very accountable for what you're doing.
Yeah. So how can the people continue to connect with us?
Yes. So y'all stay locked in with us. Follow us on all platforms at the Nurse Power Network. You can log in on our website, nursepowernetwork.com. And you can also subscribe to our podcast, Nurse Power Podcast. Make sure you give us a good review and rating. All right.
Peace. See y'all soon. In power.
Yes. Nurse Power.